What's up, Lucky Gamers? It's Lucky Lux, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming banners and if you should summon these characters, if you should not. I'm mainly going to be focusing on the roles that they play in each of the categories of PvE or PvP. Like, honestly, if you're a PvP-focused player, then I'll tell you, like, if you should get this character or not. And if you're a PvE-focused player, I'll tell you if you should get this character or not. So if you guys enjoy this video, please hit the like button, comment down below what you guys think, and please subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more of the Artery Gear content. Anyways, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Alright guys, so first up is Nina. She's going to be a single target damage dealer who can buff herself with an attack buff and crit damage buff, which is pretty strong, honestly. And she can also lower her cooldowns, reset her cooldowns, give herself extra turn. She has buff block on the S1. But like a combo that you could use if you have an Alice, right, is you could have her faster than Alice, right? Crazy, right? Yeah, have her faster than Alice, have her S2, she gets the S turn, she gets the S3, kill somebody. Lowers the cooldown of her S2, right? So then when you have Alice, push her back up, right? Then she could S3 again and get this S. I mean, basically with Alice, you could cycle that S2, S3 really nicely for PvE and PvP if you get a nice combo off. She has really nice attack, of course, low defense. All right, HP. She's 105 speed, not the fastest, but again, like if you can get to where she can just one shot with her S3 with the attack buff she already gives herself, she can be pretty crazy because she can do 2 turns by herself, and then Alice could, help that out as well. So kind of crazy. I think you could get quite a bit of damage off with her. I would absolutely, like, if I have Alice, I would absolutely build her. She would be a pretty sick red damage dealer because, like, she doesn't even have to have Alice's buff. But even if you, like, yes, if you give Alice the, to have her push her up, like, right, you are wasting the buff because she already gives herself attack buff, but she still has a crit damage buff. So then you could build crit rate on her to make sure that she's always going to crit, and she can completely annihilate somebody, right? And her hit rate goes up 50% when using this. Yes, a single target, but you could possibly get 2 kills with it if you do it right. When you imprint and you wail on her, you can get 20% extra attack. You can get some extra crit damage, which is not bad, especially you have her on the team with everybody else. She doesn't have unique equipment, but when she gets it, it'll probably make her a little strong. So if I were to judge this for a PvE or PvP player, and free to play, right, or if you spin, if you're a PvP player, being that cleave meta and stuff like that exists, you'd have to make her really, really fast. You'd have to make her faster than the typical Alice, and most people build Timmy too. So like if you're using Timmy, Alice, and her, you have to make her like slower than your Timmy, but then faster than your Alice, and then she has to be faster than somebody else's units, because then yes, you could absolutely use Nina to obliterate somebody else's unit, like their AoE cleaver on the team, and then you can get the extra turn, do it again, right? There's absolutely a way you could work, but you'd have to gear her perfectly for that to happen. So for a free-to-play player as well, not only are you having to gear her very high to make her work in the against a cleave meta, you have to think about for PvE content, reds aren't used a whole lot. I know there's the Dark Zone boss, but Centaur and Harpist, like you can use a red against Centaur, but it's typically better to use a blue, and most free-to-play players probably got Genga. So yeah, like I mean, it's like a lot of damage, but you have like if you didn't get Shura, then you could possibly get her. If you don't have like another red high single target damage dealer, then she'd be a good option for you. But there's some other reds. There's another red on this list, so you have to think about that. But for like as of boss damage, she could do a lot of damage, but just remember she can't cycle as much because if you're fighting a boss, she's not getting a kill to reset her S2. So you wouldn't have as easy of cycling and all those extra turns, but she does give herself an extra turn. She does buff herself up. And if you spend money on the game, she'd be good for you if you spend money. Erika. Erika's a unit whom I don't think is as bad as they say. I'm just going to go over her really quickly. Basically, if she has buffs on herself, her S1, where it has a AoE dispel, becomes basically just a guaranteed AoE dispel as long as you have the accuracy, right? So that's not bad. You can dispel people's immunities and stuff in PvP. For PvE, it could work if the enemies are buffing themselves up. So not bad. Again, if you have like a Quinn, that's just easy. If you're a user who has an Alice, this is probably not as useful. And I feel like that's why this is ranked so low, is because not many people are going to be using Quinn because they think Quinn is bad when Quinn is actually quite amazing. And Quinn's going to give you the extra buff, and you can do the AoE dispel if you want. Her passive pretty much immunes her from action bar manipulation. And whenever she gets hit, she pushes a random ally up 10%. If you have a good team, regardless of who's being pushed up, it could honestly help save you if you have a team where everybody's useful. If you're just having a team where you just have a one-trick pony type team, then yeah, with this random ally action bar push, it's not really going to help you. But there's another unit on here who affects the action bar on these upcoming banners, who affects the action bar pretty heavily. So she's a counter to that. So not bad. On her S3, she has a AoE silence, which can go up to 75%. That's never a bad thing, especially with the cleave meta. You could silence people out if they don't have immunity, which not a lot of people have immunity built right now. So she's not the worst unit, and she gives herself speed buff, so it just can help keep up the buffs on her. That way her S1 has the AoE dispel. So again, I don't, because like when you put D for a unit, I think that's just, you're basically saying that they're completely useless in PvP. She's not completely useless. You just have to build for her. She's more so of a niche unit in a way, but she's then still more useful than other people. So I think the D is just a little too strong. But again, if you're using Alice, it probably just wouldn't be as good versus if you're like using like myself, Quinn. I could make her work because I buff everybody with Quinn. Her speed is decent, honestly. Her defense is pretty decent. Her attack's a little low, but I'm not going to be using her to attack. And her HP is a little low. But she is a 4-star, so you can max her out, get the status accuracy, which will help out because you're doing silences and dispels. Get a little extra attack. There's nothing wrong with that. She has no unique equipment. I just don't think that she's the worst bottom tier, useless tier of D. In PvE, she could probably be a little bit like, she's still a niche unit, so it depends on what they think about it for a C unit. But Ryza, Ryza is a if you're a free to play player, if you like her design, get her. She'll be a good character, but she's only really going to be amazing if you get her unique equipment. If you're a person who spends money and you like to test builds, get her, because in PvP she can absolutely punish somebody. So with her S1, she gets 20 energy. So she's one of those units who uses energy, right? So you need to make sure that you get energy generation. So you could do a counter set on her, right? That way when she gets attacked, she can counter, get some energy, right? She gives Mark, which is just extra damage, 15% extra damage. I thought it lowered evasion because I've seen tips on like tool tips on that, but the in-game says it only does 15% extra damage. Whichever, still good. Her passive, basically she shares damage with the person who's in the position 1. And then whenever they get hit, whichever gets hit, you gain 20 energy. So if you both get hit, that's 40 energy. So with a lot of AoE cleavers, it's 40 energy. With a lot of bosses, they hit, AoE for the most part. That's 40 energy. Whenever she reaches 100 energy, she will use her alchemist full. Oh, also her max is 150, so that way if you're generating a lot, you can still use her passive. But your passive, it consumes all energy, deals 79% damage to all enemies with a 50% chance to cause defense down for 2 rounds. If it's a critical strike, increase critical strike damage. This is basically SSB from Epic 7. We've been talking about her in the streams, which you guys should catch those. This could honestly punish people for attacking with cleave. This is a quote-unquote anti-cleave type character because now you are attacking them with causing a defense down. It's hitting hard if it strikes. Like, she has decent attack. And there are some pretty ridiculous combos that you could do with her. I mean, like, honestly, if you had Alice, right, you could S3, S1, and then if you get hit, bam, that's the extra ability. Because the S3, you gain 60 energy points, inflicts 116% damage to all enemy targets, causes buff block and anti-heal, which is good. They can't heal back after you hit them, unless they, can cleanse it. And if it's a critical strike, increase critical strike damage by 20%. You can lower this to 4 turns, and you can give it an extra 30 damage. So you put it at around almost like 150, 146, right? So keep that 146 in your head. Because when she gets her unique, well, first off, let's look at her skills. Her speed, not bad. Defense, she's a DPS, right? Attack, nicely high. Not 1500 or 1400, but it's pretty close. Her imprints gives her HP and crit chance. Her HP is not too high, right? Because she's gonna be taking extra shared damage. So an imprint's all right. So if you're gonna wail on her, well, you'll have a really strong Ryza. Because giving that HP and that crit chance is pretty nice. Because you do need her to crit, because that's what her kit's wanting. But her unique equipment, my god. She gives herself hit effectiveness. This is useful because she does a lot of debuffs. She gives herself flat HP and flat attack. This is useful because look at that. That's putting her up to like 1500 attack, and she already has abilities that scale. But remember this one, 146 when you max this S3, right? Bonus skill effects for her ultimate, Mechanical Quasar. Every enemy killed by her ult has a 100% chance to gain 30 energy. Also, her ult, Mechanical Quasar, deals 42% bonus damage and penetrates 70% of their defense. My god. So max this out, it's 146. Another 42%. We're almost at 200%. Like, we're at 188% damage plus a 70% defense penetration. And yes, we're not into a bruiser meta yet, but when we do get into bruiser meta, she will be prepared for it with the 70% defense. So if you're getting her, yes, the unique equipment is a must grab. You get the 30 energy. Think about that. Whenever you ult with her, you literally, like, if you have Alice and you ult with her, that's 60 energy plus another 30 whenever you max out your unique equipment, right? It's going to be lower until you max it out. If you watched my unique equipment video, you know that it's not going to be that value until you have it maxed out. But still, when you ult with her, it's going to be 60 plus another 30. That's 90. Math. Then with your extra turn, you S1. And bam, you hit with your S2. Like, because you have all your points. Or you could S1, right? Put the mark, then S3. That way, whoever was marked would basically die because this would hit really, really hard. So, yeah, pretty good. Red Cleaver, pretty good unit who, with her unique equipment, becomes a problem in PvP if you can't counter it. Because, right now, reds and blues are just decent in PvP. If people have a Sirius on their team, Sirius is dead. There's nothing Sirius can do about this. Sirius is so squishy. She would die immediately to all of this damage. So, something to think about, especially if people have like Herons, all that stuff. Any green, they're dead. They can't handle all of that damage. So just a thought, Let's move on. Claudia. Claudia is good in PvP because she has a lot of action bar manipulation. If you play Dislight, you see me play Dislight, you already know that action bar manipulation is one of the strongest things you can have. Her S1 repels action bar by 5%, gains action bar by 5%. You can get it up to 10%. Pretty basic ability. I think Kagari has that. Her S2, it has a AoE dispel, and the targets can basically get repelled 2 times. There's a 75% chance to repel their action bar by 15% 2 times. So it doesn't mean that this ability like hits twice is there's two chances for it to repel back to give you a total of 30%. And her UE makes this even better. Her S3, pretty low cooldown. It's saying it can lower the cooldown by 1, so you can lower it to 2 turn. Thank God her abilities have pretty low scaling, because that's a really low cooldown already. But basically, if the target has buffs, she increases the damage by 10% per buff. And then whenever the target that has a buff, inflict defense down and dispel 2 rounds off all buffs on all targets and advance your own action bar by 50%. So with her S3, she can push herself up with 50%. Then she has her S2, where you can dispel buffs. Your S3 dispels buffs and gets defense down. She can repel you and make you just honestly not attack. Her attack's pretty high. Her defense is pretty decently high. Speed, all right for attack this unit. And then her HP is pretty low. Her imprints give her resistance and status accuracy. So if you're going to wail on her, you get the resistance. That way you don't get debuffed, which is nice. Status accuracy. That way you can just, your team can apply more debuffs. Her unique equipment just kind of makes her S2 just a little bit better. Your dispel chance goes to 100%. You increase the amount of times to repel the action bar from 2 to 3, so you can go to a 45% chance. So you probably have a higher chance of doing like 30 to 45%, right, in case you miss one. So not bad, honestly. But for PvE, if you were a free-to-play player, probably not the most useful for you. For PvP, if you like to spend, if you want to do some action bar manipulation, you totally could. But probably, I would say just, not the greatest, honestly. Like, I mean, being that she's a green, like if you just build some fast units, like you could use Milvis, Ryza, right, to just obliterate her. So just some thoughts. Now, Lila, this is where the free-to-play players, totally skip this. If you're straight up free to play and you want to maximize your spending on like banners, skip all of this. Now, if Ryza's waifu, then go ahead. Don't dip too much into the banner, but skip all this for Lila. Lila is crazy. So, Lila, her S1, she uses energy. Her S1, she consumes all her energy. Basically, based off of the energy that she consumes, she does increase damage, and if it crits, it does 20% more. So, decent, right? S2 gives entire team crit up, meaning you don't have to put as much crit rate on your people, because that's 50% extra crit rate. Lasts for 3 rounds, and this is an active for 5 turns, so that's not bad. You advance the action bar of all other allies by 1% per 5.4% of own crit strike chance. There's a lot of math with this. I don't feel like doing it. In the comment section, you can put it down what all the math is. I just didn't feel like calculating it. I know it could have taken me like 15 seconds with a calculator, but I was just like, meh. On her enhanced version, she gets herself an extra turn. And whenever an ally triggers a critical strike, advance your own action bar by 10% and gain 1 energy. The only thing I want to know is, if an ally does an AoE attack, does all of those trigger the effect? Do I get 40% from one person hitting an AoE ability, hitting 4 people? And then do I get 4 energy? Because if so, that's what would make her broken. So I got to see that when she comes out, because that's absolutely bonkers. Yeah. So just some stuff to think about. But you get that extra turn, and then you can S3. Inflict 169% damage to a single enemy target, consuming all energy. For each point of energy consumed, the damage is increased by 7%. When a crit strike is triggered, the critical strike damage of this attack is increased by 50%. So the way that you want to build her speed kind of depends on how this works, right? So if the ally can trigger a critical strike without being buffed up from her, then you would want to make her slower in a way. That way she can get her maximum energy, and she's also pushing herself up depending on how much action bar this works. Like if it works how I'm reading it, where an ally can give you a 40% buff and 4 energy, then you want her slower. If not, then it doesn't really matter, right? Because in her S3 gives 50% extra damage on a crit strike, and 7% when you max it out, it gives you up to 10%. Like this ability, you're getting extra 40% damage. Like it's hitting 200%, then it gets extra, where it's like it's going to be hitting really hard. You can get it up to like 240, 250. Honestly, she could hit really hard on this S3. So that's the part where I'm just like, it depends on how this S2 works on how you would have her cycle. But still, a lot of damage. You get a free crit up. You get action bar push. And she gives herself an extra turn. So a really good unit. She has decently high attack, low HP, kind of lowish speed. Defense is a little on the decent side. If you wail on her, you get a lot of crit. You get some HP, which helps her out. Her unique weapon just makes it all better. For every other ally buffed by warrior symbol, increase energy by 2. Also, whenever an attack from Lila reduces an enemy's HP to 0, gain 5 energy. So that gives you quality of life. That way, regardless of her speed, you'll still always have energy as long as you kill something. So, pretty good. Honestly, pretty good. I would get her. Honestly. And the last characters, I can honestly go over this really quickly. If you are free to play and you don't care about PvP, don't summon on here. You don't need to. If you are a PvP player and you're free to play or you spend, yes. I'm going to summarize everything here. Her S3 has a revive. It gives you invincible, heals you all the way. Even if you can't resurrect anybody, you cleanse them, heal them all for their health, and give them invincibility. She doesn't have a UE anything. Her imprint gives her HP. Her stats are just like a soul weaver. She's okay HP, terrible attack, really nice defense, kind of slow, but you don't need her to do damage. She does a pretty whack heal on her S1 and her S2 because it's based off of the target's maximum health, so not too much. But the S3, she has a revive. That like, it's basically like if you like her design and you're free to play, then you can go ahead and get her if you think she's amazing. But she has a revive, and for PVE, it's not as useful because like if somebody dies, like it's kind of over, and there's a couple of teams you can maybe fit her for, right? Where you're using like double healers, but it's not a necessity because you could also do that with like Morris and Komachi. So, just saying. Dark Deep, if you're a mad lad, you can make her work. They have her as the lowest, but honestly, she is pretty decent. She can steal buffs. She can transfer debuffs. She wants to be debuffs because she gets more damage on her S1. She gets more damage on her S3, and she gets more speed. She can't be stunned or paralyzed. She has pretty high attack. All right, speed, really low HP, but on imprint, she gets more HP. Her defense is average, but she has really high attack. You can make her work if you're just a crazy mad lad. I didn't want to make this video too long, so I didn't want to spend too long on everybody. But basically, to summarize, if you are a free-to-play player and you want to optimize your gems, like I said, skip, summon, skip so far. If you spend money and you care about PvE and PvP, then Nina for single target damage. If you have Alice, you can make this work really crazy in PvP. For PvE, depends on if you have a really strong red unit or not. If you spend money, Ryza, if you get her unique equipment, yes. Honestly, if you're not going to get her unique equipment or invest into it, you don't really have to have her. But if you are, then she's going to be amazing. Claudia, if you want to play around with the action bar, like manipulation and PvP, then sure. Regardless if you spend money or not, yes, get her. If you're a PvP player, yes, get her. Dark Deep, you get her when you get her. So that is going to be my summarization of these characters. Again, just make sure that when you get these characters, make sure that they do something for your account. They help you get through content. If there's somebody that you need, just remember that. Just like look at a unit and just be like, do I need a single target? Do I need an AoE? Just think about that. And then also, if you guys like this video, please hit the like button. Comment down below what you guys think about these characters. Also, correct me on anything if you think about it. We can also discuss it. because I'm going off of what we have right now. I'm not looking at what's far in the future in JP and how those characters perform. Because me personally, I like to build a unit like while they're here. So also subscribe to the channel if you guys want more Artery Gear content. And check me out on Twitch, guys, twitch.tv at Lucky Lux Gaming. I stream there quite often. I also answer a bunch of questions. I got people who need members for their alliance. We talk about units who are coming out. We talk about builds. We theory crafts. We talk a lot about PvP. Like literally, you can just join and just have fun. Ask any question that you want. I will answer the same question if it's asked by 50 different people. I do not care because I'm there to help entertain you guys. So, join that. I also have a Discord community where we talk about Artery Gear as well. That's an easy way to honestly get in contact with me, to get help, to ask questions, to share off your gotcha and everything like that. Like, we're pretty chill. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You lucky gamers, have a good one. Lucky Lux out.